Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. So recently, I made a deal with my Twitch community that if I reached the follower goal for that stream, I would read a bedtime story. And I thought, I'll read the most furry bedtime story of all, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, there were three bears who lived together in a house of their own in a wood. One of them was a little wee bear, one of them was a middle-sized bear, and the other was a great big bear. They each had a bowl for their porridge, a little bowl for the little wee bear, a middle-sized bowl for the middle-sized bear, and a great big bowl for the great big bear. And they each had a chair to sit in, a little chair for the little wee bear, a middle-sized chair for the middle-sized bear, and a great chair for the great big bear. And they each had a bed to sleep in, a little bed for the little wee bear, a middle-sized bed for the middle-sized bear, and a great bed for the great big bear. One day, they had made the porridge for their breakfast and poured into their porridge bowls. They walked out into the wood while the porridge was cooling, that they might not burn their mouths by beginning too soon, for they were polite, well-brought-up bears. While they were away, a little girl named Goldilocks, who lived at the other side of the wood and had been sent on an errand by her mother, passed by the house, looked in at the window, and then she peeped in the keyhole, for she was not at all a well-brought-up little girl. Then, seeing nobody in the house, she lifted the latch. The door was not fastened because the bears were good bears, who did nobody any harm, and never suspected that anybody would harm them. So Goldilocks opened the door and went in, and well pleased she was when she saw the porridge on the table. If she had been a well-brought-up little girl, she would have waited till the bears came home, and then, perhaps, they would have asked her to breakfast, for they were good bears. A little rough or so, as the manner of bears is, but for all that very good-natured and hospitable. But she was an impudent, rude little girl, so she set about helping herself. First, she tasted the porridge of the great big bear, and that was too hot for her. Next, she tasted the porridge of the middle-sized bear, but that was too cold for her. And then she went to the porridge of the little wee bear and tasted it, and that it was neither hot nor too cold, but just right. And she liked it so well that she ate it all up, every bit. Then Goldilocks, who was tired, for she had been catching butterflies instead of running on her errand, sat down in the chair of the great big bear. But that was too hard for her. Then she sat down in the chair of the middle-sized bear. That was too soft for her. But when she sat down in the chair of the little wee bear, that was neither too hard nor too soft, but just right. So she seated herself in it, and there she sat, till the bottom of the chair came out, and down she came, plump upon the ground. That made her very cross, for she was a bad-tempered little girl. Now, being determined to rest, Goldilocks went upstairs into the bedchamber in which the three bears slept. At first she lay down upon the bed of the great big bear, but that was too high at the head for her. Next she lay down upon the sides of the middle-sized bear, and that was too high at the foot for her. And then she lay down upon the bed of the little wee bear, and that was neither too high at the head nor at the foot, but just right. So she covered herself up comfortably and lay there till she fell fast asleep. By this time, the three bears thought their porridge would be cool enough for them to eat it properly, so they came home to breakfast. Now careless Goldilocks had left the spoon of the great big bear standing in his porridge. "Someone has been at my porridge," says the great big bear in his great, rough, gruff voice. Then the middle-sized bear looked at his porridge and saw the spoon was standing in it too. "Somebody's been at my porridge," said the middle-sized bear in his middle-sized voice. And then the wee little bear looked at his, and there was the spoon in the porridge bowl, but the porridge was all gone. "Someone's been at my porridge and has eaten it all up," said the wee little bear in his wee little voice. Upon this, the three bears, seeing that someone had entered their house and had eaten up the wee little bear's breakfast, began to look about them. Now the careless Goldilocks had not put the hard cushion on straight when she rose from the chair of the great big bear. "Someone has been sitting in my chair," said the great big bear in his great, rough, gruff voice. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair," says the middle-sized bear in his middle-sized voice. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair and sat the bottom through," said the wee little bear in his wee little voice. Then the three bears thought they had better make further search in case it was a burglar, so they went upstairs into their bedchamber. Now Goldilocks had pulled the pillow of the great big bear out of its place. "Someone has been lying in my bed," says the great big bear in his great, rough, gruff voice. And Goldilocks had pulled the bolster of the middle-sized bear out of its place. "Someone has been lying in my bed," said the middle-sized bear in his middle-sized voice. But when the wee little bear came to look at his bed, there was the bolster in its place, and the pillow was in its place upon the bolster. And upon the pillow, there was Goldilocks' yellow head, which was not in its place, for she had no business there. "Someone's been lying in my bed, and here she is still," said the wee little bear in his wee little voice. Now Goldilocks had heard in her sleep the great, rough, gruff voice of the great big bear, but she was so fast asleep that it was no more to her than the roaring of the wind or the rumbling of thunder. And she had heard the middle-sized voice of the middle-sized bear, but it was only as if she had heard someone speaking in a dream. But when she heard the wee little voice of the wee little bear, it was so sharp, so shrill, that it awakened her at once. Up she started, and when she saw the 3 bears on the other side of the bed, she tumbled herself at the other and ran to the window. Now the window was open because the bears, like good, tidy bears as they were, always opened their bedchamber window when they got up in the morning. So naughty, frightened little Goldilocks jumped, and whether she broke her neck in the fall, or ran into the wood and was lost there, or found her way out of the wood and got whipped for being a bad girl and playing truant, no one can say. But the 3 bears never saw anything more of her. Go follow me on twitch.tv/justokari. Have sweet dreams, puppy. Mwah.